Hi guys, Sarah here and welcome to Novel Expectations. Today I'm coming to you with another Tuesday Talks. Tuesday Talks is a Goodreads group that was started by Janie over at the Bookworms Buddy and Janelle at Miss J. Rod Reads. This week's question is, what do you think of required reading in school? My short answer is that I think it's a great idea. I think it gets a lot of kids to read stuff that they may not necessarily ever pick up, and they may realize that they either really like something or don't like something. So I'm going to talk to you about 3 books I was required to read in high school and how they did very much change my reading habits. The first book is The Chrysalids by John Wyndham. I don't remember a lot about this book. I remember it took place after like a nuclear war on Earth and how the population was pretty much decimated and how they had to rebuild and how some of the kids were born with slight abnormalities, if I can use that terminology. I learned from this book that I do not like dystopian novels, and I learned that I don't like science fiction novels, which surprised me because when I first heard that we were doing a science fiction book, I got excited because at the time I was a huge fan of the X-Files. I still am a huge fan of the X-Files. And, I mean, I thought I loved science fiction. Well, it turns out, no, I really don't. I like the X-Files. But this book, to this day, I don't care for dystopian. I know it's a huge thing in YA fiction right now, and I'm going to talk in another video later this week about why I don't read YA, or why I don't read a lot of YA, but I find a lot of them are dystopian, and that's why I can't read them. This book, I had to read it for school, I did the essay, but it taught me that this is not my type of reading material. The second book I remember reading was To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee, and I loved this book when I read it. This was my first foray into literary fiction, and prior to this I was reading Anne Rice and V.C. Andrews and stuff like that, and to get a book that was a lot heavier with a lot more meaning behind it was thoroughly enjoyable. I have not read this book since I read it in high school. I do have the audiobook for Audible read by Sissy Spacek that I'm hoping to get to this year, and last year I actually read Go Set a Watchman, which I also really enjoyed. And I'm glad that I was required to read this one because it really opened my eyes to another period in time in history and to a completely different type of person than I was used to knowing before. The last book is A Prayer for Owen Meaning by John Irving. I read this book, I think, in grade 11 or 12, and I actually took a course in high school called American History and Literature. Now, I am Canadian, so learning American history was very interesting to me. And pretty much the way the class worked is that for the first half of the class, you learned about the historical period. For the second half of the class, you read a book that corresponded with that historical period. Well, in our case, the John Irving book was picked because a good chunk of it takes place during the Vietnam War. For those of you unfamiliar with this book, it is a book about a boy named Owen, and at the very beginning of the book, I think, he ends up killing his friend's mother or his own mother. I can't remember which. I know he doesn't have a mother, and I don't know if she was already passed away at this point. This is a young boy who is not exactly the most healthy young man. He's shorter than his friends, he has to wear glasses, and I think he's got braces on his legs. But as the time goes on, the story takes place over Owen's lifetime, and it is a fantastic book. Anything by John Irving is great, but this was my first time reading him, and I really enjoyed it. I remember that maybe only 25% of my class finished this book, and I just think that a lot of the other students really missed out on a great piece of literature because this book was absolutely fantastic. So anyway, guys, that's it for this video. What are your thoughts of required reading in schools? And were you required to read any of the books that I mentioned in this video, and what did you think about them? Please post in the comments below. And if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!